Today's video is going to be all about our apartment in Paris. So I'm going to split this video into three parts. It's going to be the apartment tour and kind of just highlighting the features of the apartment. Second part will be just like the general information about the apartment and the rent, the bills, the area, everything like that. Then the third part will be how we found our apartment, how we got it, what are the options out there if you're looking to do something similar, and I guess our recommendation and how we felt about the whole situation. So first things first, apartment tour. So I'm going to overlay some clips here. I took of the whole apartment from different angles and different sections. It's not a big apartment. One thing we were worried about as we were organizing all of this remotely to find an apartment in Paris was the size. It is quite small. It's 29 square meters. We thought that might be quite small for two people, but so far it's been working pretty well. It's a studio apartment, which means the bed here in the living space rolls out into a double bed, which is surprisingly quite comfortable. We have a small kitchenette slash half kitchen with a washing machine, microwave, all the basics, a small fridge freezer, and unfortunately no dishwasher or dryer. But luckily everything dries super fast on a line in the apartment. We have two huge windows in the apartment which we leave open like 90% of the time. We have really high ceilings, which is lovely. It gives the apartment a much bigger feel, and also a large mirror at the end of the room which kind of adds a dimension and makes the place feel bigger and brighter. In general it's a very bright apartment, which is great. But a positive that we're benefiting from that we didn't really anticipate is that the apartment isn't south facing, it's north facing, which means we're not getting direct sunlight through those huge windows all day. So the apartment doesn't get too hot. But that being said, it's quite warm today, but we have a fan going. But that was one thing that we kind of lucked out on, is that it's not getting direct sunlight all day, so we would be just cooked inside here. The bathroom is nice and modern. It seems like it was renovated recently. We have a nice rainfall shower with a shower head and a big huge tray and sliding door, fully kitted out bathroom. And we have loads of storage throughout. You'll see it in the clips here. We actually have more than enough storage for just two people, and we didn't think we would because it's such a small apartment, but these two large sliding door wardrobes that we have, or I guess shelves, they don't take up too much space and they fit in quite nicely with the apartment, and they fit more than what we need in terms of space. We also have in our entrance hall a storage space where we have the boiler and we have our ironing board. We store a few different bits and pieces like our shoes and stuff. We also have a desk, which you'll see in the clips. It folds out into a proper dining table, which is perfect because when we're not using it as a big table, which we aren't very often, we use it just for working at. We have a nice old fireplace, non-functioning fireplace in the main room as well, which we're just trying to decorate in a nice way. We have some books and a plant and some other bits in there. And yeah, that's kind of the whole apartment. Very small. I kept referring to it as a shoebox when I was telling people about it. It does feel like a shoebox, but it feels like a very airy, open, spacious shoebox. But it actually works out perfectly for two people, so delighted. So the second part is just the general info about the apartment, how much we're paying rent and so on. So we're paying 1398 euros, so 1400 per month, excluding bills. So by bills I mean just maintenance fee and bins. Besides, I presume city taxes in there too. We do have a phone and Wi-Fi included in our rent, so that's kind of part of it. But the bills, luckily, with the way we're set up, we're paying upfront per month. So I think it's 80 euros per month on top of the 1400. So we have a fixed amount every month, which is nice. That might be different in different situations. We're in the 5th arrondissement, so very, very central. We're actually really happy with the location. We weren't extremely familiar with the 5th when moving here, but we had a good look on Google Maps and around the area before moving here, and you know, we took a chance. We thought it'd be nice, and it's very touristy area, but still very suitable for what we want. It's central, it's close to everything. So many nice bars and cafes around, nice shops. I mean, on our street alone, there's a lot of high street brands, and then loads of tourist restaurants and bars. The downside of that is that it is quite noisy at night, especially from Thursday to Saturday night. Doesn't bother us too much, but I mean, if you're looking to move somewhere and you really want somewhere quiet, I would avoid the super touristy, high footfall areas like this. So the Fifth is very central in that sense. I'll also throw in a clip of our view. So outside of our two huge windows, we have a lovely view of our street and beyond, so you can actually see Notre Dame from our window, which is nice. Facilities, the building has everything we need. We have a lift that brings us to the 4th floor from the ground floor. Our apartment's on the 6th floor, which is the top floor, which is again a nice situation to be in. We don't have any neighbors above. We do have neighbors on one side, and I presume the next building there's probably people living in there too. Third part of this video, how we found our apartment and what options are out there for anybody who's interested, or if you're just testing the waters, and how we found the experience, I guess. So we're renting this apartment for a 6-month lease, just to get us started here, with the option to roll over. So we can extend that. The landlord has to ask us if we want to stay before ending our lease. But initially it's 6 months, which is perfect for what we need. Gives us the option to move somewhere else if we want to, or move home if we want to. So that was what we were looking for moving over here, is something short, so we're not committing to a whole year in a place that might turn out to be not great. We found the place through an agency online called Paris Attitude. This is kind of like an Airbnb type company. It's a letting agency, but you can get short-term and long-term leases there, and holiday lets, etc. So we found our apartment. We were scouring the internet for months across multiple different websites. This is the one that we eventually found, and we were super happy with. It is small, but the fact that we were able to get a 6-month lease, and the letting agents and the landlord were very easy to deal with. It was all online. The reason we went with Paris Attitude was because in terms of bureaucracy and paperwork, it was the least amount required versus other letting agents and estate agents. So in a lot of cases, renting an apartment in Paris, you will need a guarantor, which is somebody who can pay your rent if you can't pay it yourself. In most cases, the guarantor will have to be French and living in France. Probably Paris if you're looking to rent in Paris. So that was a big hurdle that we wanted to avoid completely. And luckily with Paris Attitude, we were able to just provide bank statements and our own general information to get the apartment. So we didn't need a guarantor. Just be aware that you might need that in some other cases and some other agencies. So if you are in a situation where you need a guarantor, Claire was telling me there's a website. She did a bit more research into this. There's a website where you can essentially get a guarantor to sponsor you or be your guarantor for your rent, and they will be typically living in the city. So I think it's called Garant Me. So if you're interested, we didn't go that route, but if you have to, there are like facilities out there for people who are in a situation where they can't get a guarantor. If you're going the traditional route for renting in Paris, is that you'll probably need a French bank account, and in order to have a French bank account you have to have a French address, so it's kind of like a tricky catch-22 situation to be in if you're trying to move from abroad. Again, luckily with Paris Attitude, and I'm sure some other sites as well, you didn't need a French bank account, and I think that's probably due to the fact that Paris Attitude do holiday lets as well. So that was the route that we took. It can be difficult to get an apartment in Paris, but if you do your research and maybe follow the path that we took, If you're moving from abroad, you might find a place. We got very lucky in a lot of senses, but that's how we did it. A big benefit to going with an agency like Paris Attitude or Logis or Century 21, to mention a few, and across the board, a lot of apartments in Paris will be pre-furnished, which is what we needed because we didn't want to be buying furniture to furnish a place that we may not be staying in for more than 6 months. So that's another huge plus, is that a lot of apartments in Paris are pre-furnished and they have everything you need. And then going with agencies like Paris Attitude, they'll be more likely to have fully furnished places ready to move into. If we plan on staying past the 6 months, which is quite likely, myself and Claire were thinking we might go the traditional tenant to landlord route in terms of finding a place to rent, because there are fees associated with going through an agency like the one we went through. So they're taking a cut of the rent, so the rent is going to be slightly inflated. We have seen cases where similar sized apartments are actually cheaper because you're not going through, an agency, you're going directly to the landlord. So that's probably the route we will go. It will probably require us to get a French bank account and, set up all that paperwork and everything, but it will probably save us a few £100 a month. So that is our apartment tour and the information about our apartment. If you have any tips for people that I did not mention, leave them in the comments below. If you want to ask a question that I didn't answer here, again, leave a comment below. And yeah, appreciate you checking out the video. Cheers.